Hey, good morning, traders. I'm using Ichimoku this morning. I tried different ways of looking at it. When I see big gap ups in the morning, I want to see where we're in relation to our time frames with Ichimoku cloud. So whenever you have the cloud here, that represents supply, Ichi supply. Okay, there's different ways of looking at supply. Most people just use the horizontal levels, but the Ichi actually gives you a basically time and price is really important. You got two factors that you're using Ichimoku, and currently, we are into a supply because the time has not. We haven't had the right time for this big move. So basically, we're getting the move, but we're getting the move quite frankly at the wrong spot at the wrong time. So I just wanted to point that out going forward here. So what we're doing this morning here on the daily, okay, we're going to be gapping up around the 50630 area. 50630 area. So on the daily Ichimoku, we're going to be opening above supply here on Ichimoku early on this morning on the cues themselves. Okay. Well, that's great, man. Everything we're crossing into bullish territory. Oh my goodness, that's really great, right? Well, if I go down on the smaller time frames now, yeah, I've drew some lines. I went and taken the uh, Ichimoku. Let me zoom in here real quick. Daily, and you see the top of the cloud right there. I've actually drawn some lines right there at the top of the cloud here on the daily, and now I'm going to go down here on some more time frame, the 1 hour, and what we got going on here this morning here at between 3 and 4 o'clock, the London Open. We came down from the London Open right into the top of that cloud, and we found support. I mean, initially, very bullish pattern early on this morning here on the Nasdaq because this is the very first day since the all the tariff news that we've actually crossed back. This is crossing back above the weekly or the daily Ichimoku cloud. Okay, we do have some weekly Ichimoku resistance. Let me go over here on the. Let me show you where I got that number at. Weekly Ichimoku. Okay, we have signal lines right here. Our weekly signal lines right here. Okay, we're currently trading even above that. So this could act as resistance today, these signal lines, given just how much strength we have in this market. So we want to keep an eye on that as another backtest area early on in today's session, see if that becomes new support. So thinking that, this could become new support in today's session, uh, but we'll see how it plays out. So bottom line is I might be in that long. I don't know yet. Coming into that support right around the 504 area if we were to do a back and test early on this morning. So uh, just some things I was thinking about early on this morning on the cues. Okay, and you can see just how very powerful that the cues are coming off this. Now, I do want to point out here, though, and uh, let's go back here on the daily real quick. And on our leaderboard this morning, NVIDIA tops the list. And I want to point out we're currently trading 122. Zoom in here on the daily, okay, on the Ichimoku. And I've drawn some lines here on the daily, the top of the Ichimoku here, okay. There you go. And now I'm going to go down on the 1 hour. And I want to point out uh, we are still inside the daily cloud on NVIDIA to start the session. Now, don't get me wrong, the markets can continue to go higher. The main resistance for NVIDIA this morning today would probably be in the 125 area, 126 area, which could very well still play out. But I do want to point out how we are still in uh, supply resistance for NVIDIA, despite the NASDAQ being in bullish territory. So whenever I see the leaderboard still into supply and they're not breaking us breaking us out, the ones over here, that worries me that there should be some early profit taking because the timing isn't quite lining up with the price action. Okay, guys. So So I'd be very mindful of a potential back and fill early on this morning. So just be heads up on that. Apple's even a lot worse. I'm sorry to tell you guys that. Apple here, if you zoom in here, guys. So Apple, okay, we're way under the Ichimoku cloud, even with this big move. So we're at 210, major resistance area. Okay, right here, see the Ichimoku cloud, right here around the 210 area. Okay, so we do have a really critical resistance. Potentially here, we're crossing over early on this morning. So we want to keep that one on watch this morning. Okay, we're not even close to the cloud right here. So, you know, our fair value gap is up here. We could be running up into that. Uh, and there's a very good chance that we could just be coming up into and tagging the backside of our cloud today. So let's go back over here on the 1 hour, see what we got going on now. There you go. See what's going on here. See, we haven't even got into our cloud yet, so we're on the bearish side of the cloud. So, and we're not even into supply yet. So we have to keep this on watch. See if this 210 fails early this morning, gets rejected. We have to be very mindful of that. See if 210 becomes new support today, or if it gets rejected. So we have to definitely watch that. And then also keep in mind here, I know the news is great, and I have been putting videos out over the weekend. I was looking for Apple and Amazon to outperform because they're down 20% on the year. If there is some sort of really good resolution with China, well, it was a lot better than I ever expected. So I personally don't want to short this. I mean, I think it's more likely that you're going to squeeze higher on Apple. This gives you some levels to think about here. If we lose this, basically the 210 area, 209.50 area, if we start losing that, that could give you a little indication of some market weakness today. So, but yeah, this thing hasn't even got up into that back test area yet. But we are on the daily. We are on the like I said, a lot of supply above us here on Apple that it has to repair. Uh, Amazon, and I did the same thing with Amazon. See, uh, we're into the top of the daily cloud. Okay, so we are into supply here on Amazon as well. We haven't broken out above. So, that's another thing I want to point out here. We're still into all this leadership board is into supply or below supply. So we're getting a massive squeeze up into that supply area, but we haven't broken out on most of this leadership that we have here on our screen this morning. So we have to be very mindful of that with our bullish expectations here in Techland. Time and price just do not seem to be lined up to me very well yet. So, I definitely want to point that out. 157 here. 157. See, we're still firmly below our daily cloud on Google. So yeah, we're getting a good move, but yeah, it's just not that great. So just be very mindful. The timing is just not that great for what I'm seeing here in the markets. Now, SPY here on the daily time frame here, guys. So what I did here, similar situation. I got these dotted lines right here. That's the top of our Ichimoku. On SPY, I come in here. What do we do here? We came right into weekly Ichimoku resistance, and we've rejected this morning, and we haven't gotten past that. So be very mindful of that. And we're currently right, trying to poke out above the top of the daily Ichimoku cloud as we speak right here, right now. So this could very well be a high for today's session, looking for a move back into the Ichimoku cloud high. So be very mindful. Time and price may not be jiving very well, so we have to be very mindful of this going forward here. And we literally have to be losing this down in here. This is supported until we start losing. Like early on this morning, see around 9 o'clock, we would have to be losing something around 576.20 or something like that. And that, of course, our signal line's in that area too. So heads up on that. Our signal line's going to be lining up exactly at the same area. So we could very well be doing a back test of the signal line here, the 576.30, in early on in today's session. So that still would support the a bullish breakout above uh, the Ichimoku cloud on SPY in that scenario. Now on the weekly, you see that weekly Ichi resistance? How did I get that? And wait a minute, are the cats? And both of my signal lines right here, they cross right there. I have that as resistance, and that's exactly where we rejected this morning on SPY. So be mindful on that. Okay. Now things don't look nearly as bullish here on IWM or the diamonds this morning. So I do want to point that out here on the daily time frame. Cat's wanting to play now, of course. What you doing, kitty cat, huh? 1 second here, guys. Get this lined up for you. Okay, real quick on my Russell here. So here's our cloud right here. Okay, 213, and then on the daily here. Okay, I got it drawn in here. I'm going back down my 1 hour time frame now. And I want to point out how we just hit the cloud and immediately rejected on the Russell this morning. Heads up on that. So we are into overhead supply on the Russell that got rejected this morning. So be very mindful of that. That might be giving us, I mean, for weeks now, we've been getting leading indicators from the Russell, and the fact that the Russell rejected the daily cloud early on this morning. We have to be careful here. We have some weekly resistance right here. We're currently trading right under that weekly resistance on the Russell as well. So that might become new resistance at the 208.40. If we can get a back test up there that fails, maybe we get some downside here on the Russell. But my point is we're into that cloud supply. So we have to be mindful of that, whereas the S&Ps were actually S&Ps are actually right at the top of the supply. NASDAQ's the only thing that's actually broken above that supply. So I do want to point that out going forward here in today's session. Diamonds, similar situation. We came into the top of that supply. We are trying to poke out above early on in this morning. So let's be very mindful of this. Just remember on the diamonds, we do have some healthcare stocks that are getting smacked this morning. So we are basically into the top of that supply, daily supply. That could be a rejection point. So we have to be very mindful of that going on. And we are above our signal line as long as we're holding above the 419.43. The back test of 419.43 is probably still a viable dip. Can't remember what it was on IWM. Let me double check that. And where was that at? I lost my study. Give me a second here. Huh. 1 second here. Somehow my study changed. Yeah, so our signal line here on the 1 hour, we are currently trading below that signal line here on the Russell. So I definitely want to keep this on watch and see if prices get rejected at the 208. The 208 area here on the Russell early on. We've got weekly resistance. We have the signal line resistance right there. I want to see if that becomes new resistance in today's session. Like I said, this is all daily supply still on the Russell. So major takeaway going forward in today's session. Okay, guys, some little things that I got going on here. I did notice earlier we had Palantir. Darn it, PLTR. We're right into, we are breaking out above the earnings fair value gap this morning. What we got into is after the earnings came out, the CEO came out lowering guidance and expectations and stuff. So right here at the 124, there is earnings supply where he had that press release. So I would think we get into 124, we might be finding a rejection here on Palantir. So be very mindful. You're getting in dangerous territory here on Palantir going into today's session. Other things happening this morning. Like I said, the leadership board, I have to be very careful about this. Let's see, is that above? Nope. Nope. So, see all these charts, they look about the same here. You've got to literally you've got to literally get above here today to actually be crossing the bullish side trend. And so basically, I can see us coming up into that. So we're into supply. So be very mindful. All these mega techs, for the most part, are into supply. Microsoft's one exception. Netflix is an exception. Microsoft and Netflix are exceptions to that statement. Go on the daily here. See, we're way above on that. Uh, so that those are the few standouts. And you notice Microsoft's not even on the leaderboard here on volume. You had to go way down here. Microsoft, you got 83,000 shares is traded to get it up there. So you would think that the ones that would look the best would be having the highest volume in the pre-markets, but they're not. Microsoft is not. So just be very mindful of that going forward here. Okay. And how about Boeing? Boeing's just on a rip here. Wow, probably gonna be over 200 here at some point today. These are the best chart patterns out there. Okay. All right, that's just a few things. I was really worried. I didn't want a bunch of people to wait for the back test if you're going to go long the markets this morning. Find your strategic entry points. Just going long right out of the gate in the morning session, given where price is and how itchy supply on the daily is still very much relevant to most of these tech stocks. You've got to be very mindful of that. This could be a pop and fade early on today. Thanks a lot. Please like me if you can. Retweet me on Gumby9662C on X. I will have a post on StockTwits as well. And comments below appreciated. And like my video.